Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sweet Baby Inc. is at it again. And not just the company, Sweet Baby Inc.'s CEO, Kim Belair, the female that swears she does nothing, right? The people who swear they do nothing when they're hired, right? For some reason, they keep getting hired to do absolutely nothing. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen that before. And yet here we are with Sweet Baby Inc. trying to make that into the truth. Well, Kim Belair continues to play the victim and attempts to deny that her company's goal is to apparently wokeify video games.
For a modern gaming audience.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let it be very clear. It doesn't matter what Kim Belair actually tells you about diversity, equity, and inclusion and whether or not they wokeify video games, because she herself has been on record explaining exactly what her company does, which is the following. She is a company, or she has made a company that is a narrative consulting company that has a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are her words. This is also on the company's website. That is what the company does. So when they do narrative consultancy, they're doing the work with a focus on DEI first and foremost over everything else. You cannot say that and then say that you don't wokeify video games. You can't say that and then say that when you get hired, you don't try to put a black character in it just because, or you don't try to put a female in it just because that's exactly what you do. And this is why we haven't gotten many good black or female characters in a long time. Few and far between, quite unfortunately, because most of them are made extremely stereotypical. So let's get into the video, guys, from that part plays. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Sweet Baby Inc. CEO continued to trot out the victim card while also attempting to deny that her company's end goal is to wokeify and take over the video game industry. In an interview with Black Girl Gamers on YouTube, Belair said the following: "I think of us almost as patient zero of this wave of Gamergate." You guys are patient zero of Gamergate 2.0. You know why? Because you started it. Your employee, Chris Kindred, started Gamergate 2.0 when he tried to not only cancel Cabrutus, but get his Steam account shut down, meaning he would lose hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of video games over the last decade and more. He would lose all of that, and you were okay with it, all because you were angry that people were finding out that you were working on video games? Like, it's the most insane thing. You guys started Gamergate 2.0, and you had the Streisand effect, and nobody ever mentions that on the mainstream. No mainstream journalist mentions that. You guys don't mention that. You all want to pretend like Cabrutus started it all, which is fucking bullshit. Anyway, when I think of where it started, and it was kind of a week that we had announced that we were both on Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2, which are two, I think, popular games among the game community and players in general. Let it be known, Alan Wake 2 hasn't made a profit yet in years. Alan Wake 2 has yet to turn a profit after years of the game being out. Spider-Man 2 sold 1/3 of what Spider-Man 1 sold. Now, granted, Spider-Man 2 is not on PC yet, so when it comes out on PC, hopefully it can catch up. But right now, it's not looking too good. It's only at about 10 to 12 million copies, whereas Spider-Man 1 is almost at 30 million copies. But again, that's spread across multiple different platforms. Spider-Man 2 is not on PC yet, so we'll find out. But up until that point, I highly doubt it's going to make up 15 to 20 million players. I'm just being honest with you. She continued immediately. I think the targeting began with this kind of like, we found this secret, sinister website from Sweet Baby Inc. Meanwhile, we're on Twitter. Like, I'm just so excited to let people know that we worked on these two really great games. Well, apparently you must be really excited to also announce that you caused the fucking destruction of all these studios. It's quite sad. And the assumption was essentially that made our work on that had not been a story or narrative or character related. It had been to make a black character exist in Alan Wake 2 and to put pride flags in Spider-Man 2. And that was kind of like the assumption that we had wokeified the video games Belair added. Again, I want to make it very clear, okay? A lot of these companies, they will usually wokeify the games themselves. There's no doubt about it. But they bring you in to try to see if there's any way that they can not only add more of that bullshit into the game, but make it so that it tries to pass the eyes of the normie, right? Like, your job is to try to make that wokeification subtle while adding stereotypes that, unfortunately for you, do not make it subtle, right? It makes it so damn obvious. We can see your narrative style. Most of the video games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on are almost all cookie cutter, prime, like repeats of themselves. It's ridiculous. Not only do the main characters all look the fucking same, right? If they're male or female, it doesn't matter. Guess what hairstyle they're going to have? Probably hers, right? They're gonna have the Killmonger hairstyle usually. They'll have the modernity fade, as we call it, right? That it's so stereotypical, and they will usually speak in some Wakandan style voice, right? Where they go ultra fake African. They'll usually hire someone that doesn't even have that normal of a accent, and they'll try to fake it, right? It sounds so terrible, but it's true. The stereotypes, the way that they write these characters are awful, and I don't know why they think this is proper representation for Black, Spanish, or whatever, but it's not, right? I could tell you right now, their Hispanic representation is fucking garbage. And if they really think that Miles Morales is a great example of most Hispanics, then you guys are out of your fucking mind. You couldn't even get the damn flag right. And again, that might not have been Sweet Baby Inc. That probably would have been, Insomniac Games being retarded. She continued, as a company, we have worked on over 80 games together, so there is plenty of fodder for people to start going, oh, is this the reason that all of these games are now woke? That they have people of color in them, or queer people, or any marginalized identities at all? Or even sometimes they perceive like, oh, this woman's design is not quite as it used to be, and I think it used to be hotter. So there's a lot of stuff that's been put on us, both things that we did work on and things that we didn't. And then we kind of just became shorthand of the wokeification of gaming, she said. Now, I will agree that they became the target of gamers' ire, right? When there is multiple companies out there, Black Girl Gamers included, that all do this shit, right? It's not just Sweet Baby Inc. And we've said this for a while. I've made videos compiling all the different companies that do exactly what Sweet Baby Inc. does. There's a lot of them, and they all get funded together from the same exact sources. Most of it comes from the Canadian government. So they're definitely out there. It's not just Sweet Baby Inc. However, Sweet Baby Inc. is the one that started Gamergate 2.0, so with all due respect, you do deserve all the heat, right? You do deserve all the shit that you're getting because you had an employee try to cancel someone for having a difference of opinion. You tried to cancel someone for making a Steam curator list, not recommending your games, which he has every fucking right to do that, right? You try to take away someone's freedom of speech, essentially, and people rallied behind them, and the Streisand effect happened, and now we're here. So that's your fault, right? That's your fault. That's your employee's fault. Nobody else's fault other than yourselves. But with that being said, overall, these companies do exactly what you think they do, and they try to pretend that they don't. People of color, queer people, marginalized identities, whatever you want to call them, they've been in video games forever, right? The problem is these people are tourists, and they try to call us tourists, but they are the actual tourists. And you know how they're tourists? Because they're sitting here trying to pretend as if now, because of what they're doing, people of color, queer people, and marginalized identities are now suddenly in video games when they never were. That's bullshit, right? Especially when it comes to people of color. Are you fucking kidding me? And then they try to say, oh, Japanese games didn't have people of color. Really? I remember making a video showcasing over 20 Japanese games that were old, right? From the 80s all the way to the early 2000s that actually showed Black people in the video game as not only just prominent characters, but some of them even main characters. And then they have nothing to say to that, right? They don't understand because to them, they just figured out, right? They just figured out Black people exist, right? That's how it is. They figured out that they have a way that they can grift on racial grifting. So they are going to pretend as if Black people were never in the entertainment industry. They were never showcased on a grand scale. And it's absolute nonsense, right? For anybody who's grown up watching Black TV shows like myself, unfortunately, because I did, they were awesome. I can't even say unfortunately because they were honestly awesome, right? Like I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Family Matters is probably one of my top fucking shows of all time. I remember, what was that show? Keenan and Kel obviously is a huge one too from my childhood. And also, what the fuck was that game called, man? Wild and Crazy Kids, man. They had Omar Gooding or whatever his name is. Oh, he was in that fucking show. He was one of the main people, and that was a fun show from Nickelodeon. So there are so many TV shows, and you could go on and on and on from the 70s, the 80s, and 90s that had people of color in them, and people like this will pretend like that never happened. And this is why you end up in this situation where now, unfortunately, you have to deal with these losers who are trying to weaponize and profit off of diversity, equity, and inclusion by selling you and companies they get hired by a total lie. They'll sell this complete lie and then provide the solution. So ultimately, people like Kim Belair are liars. They're going to grift on something that they've been making money on for a while. And now because suddenly people are catching on to what's happening and providing pushback, now all of a sudden it's bigots attacking her. And it's absolutely stupid. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.